Welcome to another tutorial. On today's tutorial, we're going to be making this beautiful long gown. It's a one shoulder long gown with front sleeve. So let's start. It's going to be a little bit longer, but I promise you it will watch your while. So firstly, we're going to fold our fabric into two. As I've done so, now I am marking out my shoulder. Then I'm taking 1 inch for shoulder slope, and that is 3 inches standard for shoulder slope. Then from my 1 inch shoulder slope, I'm taking my armhole line. Then I'm taking my tape back to the beginning of my fabric, and I'm marking my breast point, my underbust, and my waistline. Now is the 1/2 inch for my adding joining to the down pattern. The next thing to do is to find the midpoint of your armhole and place it there, just like I'm doing. Then after that, you mark your nipple to nipple, divide it into two. Mine is 4, and I'm placing 4 all the way. I'll connect my line. Now I've connected the line. So now from the midpoint of my armhole, I am taking 1 inch down, as you can see. Then that 1 inch I took, I will divide it into two. That is, I will take 1/2 inch on both sides. I hope you understand that. Now, the original 1 inch I took, I am going to connect it to my breast point. As you can see, this is the original 1 inch I came down from before I took 1/2 inch on both sides. I hope you can understand this. Yeah. So now I am going to connect the 1/2 inch I took down to my breast line, and this is going to form my dart, as you can see me doing. So this is the 1/2 inch. I've connected that to my breast point. Now I'm going to take my dart, and I'm taking 1 inch on both sides of my dart. I'm taking 1 inch there and 1 inch here, and same thing on my underbust, and I'll connect my lines. Okay, I'm coming down 1 inch from my breast point to eliminate pointiness and all that at the breast point area. Now I'm connecting my dart to the 1 inch I came down from. Yeah, you might want to use your curved ruler at that in that area so your breast point doesn't come out pointy. Now I'm going to connect it. As you can see, that has formed my breast line. So now we're going to work on our armhole. I'm going to, I came down by 1 inch. Now I'm replacing that 1 inch I took. That 1 inch that I took, that is what I just replaced now. So I'm going to take my bust measurement. Then whatever that allowance you have there, you place it back. And then you add whatever sewing allowance you want to work with. I'm doing same for my underbust. Then I'll replace my dart and my sewing allowance. My underbust and my waistline is the same thing, so I'm automatically placing the same measurement on my waistline. Now I've connected my line. So the next thing to do, I'm coming back to my armhole, the midpoint of my armhole, and I'm taking 1/2 inch in, which is standard, and then I'm connecting it. As you can see, so I'm smoothing that place so it doesn't become pointy. So I'm going to go through this one more time. That is the 1 inch I came down from, and I took 1/2 inch on both sides. It's just that simple. And that 1 inch I took, I connected it to my breast area, as you can see. And I replaced that 1 inch there. So now we are going to form our new armhole from that line. Now, you just connect it to your armhole measurement. and that has now formed our new armhole. So this one is totally off. Now this is our new armhole. So now I'm taking my neckline. This is the length, and now I'm taking the depth of my armhole, my neckline, sorry. I'm taking the depth of my neckline. I'll cut my pattern. So I cut the new armhole that I marked. So now I'm marking out my neckline and I'm going to cut that too. This is a one shoulder gown. So to determine where you want this this one now, it is facing me because I want the off shoulder to be on the left side. So you turn your fabric to be facing, because when I wear this, the good side will be facing me. So that is why I'm cutting it from the good side. But if it's for the right side, you still face it to yourself and cut it there. I hope that makes sense. Now moving to the back, you first of all take your zip allowance. I'm using 1 inch. Okay, first I marked out the length of my upper bodice, and that is it there. Now I am marking 1 inch for my zip allowance all the way. I'll connect the line. Now all my measurement is starting from this 1 inch. Now that is my shoulder line, and then the 3 inch for shoulder slope, 1 inch for shoulder slope. From there you mark your armhole line. Pretty much the same thing we did for the front. That's my waistline down there, and I'll just impute my underbows. It's not really necessary, just did it so I don't get confused. So now I'm connecting my lines. That's my shoulder line, sorry, my armhole line, and this is my underbust. So there it is. I'm connecting the shoulder slope now. So unlike the front pattern, you don't come in by half inch, you just find the midpoint and then you connect it. Now I'm taking my nipple to nipple line, which is 4, and I'm marking it there. I'll come back to that later. Just connect that line. So now I'm taking half inch on both sides for my dart. I took half inch on both sides for my dart. Now I'm measuring the length of my back dart because I do not want to cut it off. I'm going to join it in there. So I'm just going to connect it there. I took 10 inches for the length of my gown, for the length of my dart. So now I'm placing my bust measurement and I'm adding my sewing allowance there. I'm doing the same for my waistline. I'll add the 1 inch I took for my dart, and now I'll add my. So now I'm connecting my lines. From there, I'll now join it to my armhole midpoint. It's just as simple as that. You join it. But if you want to, as you can see the line I just drew there, I'm just measuring, making sure the front pattern matches the back one. As you can see, everything is rhymes together. Everything rhymes together. So I just took my neckline depth and the width from there. As you can see, now I'm going to cut my pattern. I'm notching this place, that's my dart line, because I'm not going to cut it off. So that notch will be a guide for me when I'm sewing it. I'm cutting the neckline. Oh, that's the shoulder slope first. And from there, I'll cut the neckline. So because this is one hand off shoulder, one shoulder dress, the front and the back should match. Everything should match. The neckline, I mean. So now I'm going to take half inch from that place now and slide it to the other end of my fabric. So this is automatically going to take care of the zip bulge. You know that gaping at the back of your dress, especially at the zip area where you have some kind of bulge. Just do it like this. Take one half inch, slide it to the end of your fabric and just cut it off. And it will take care of that zip bulge. Just like that. Now I'm going to place this notch back because I cut it off the other time. Now I'm opening my zip allowance because I just got this on fold. So this is the back now, and when I put this on, the good side is going to face my back. You understand? If I'm wearing this, remember the good side of your lining always faces you, you know. So this good side will face me now. So to make sure I don't make mistake, I'm going to flip that like this table now is now my body and I'm now wearing this. So that other side is now my left side and this is my right side. I hope this makes sense. So that is my left side and here is my right side. So now I'm going to use this to cut on my fabric and the taffeta that I'm going to use to be working on this lace material. So you cut your taffeta and your main fabric. Some people use doll face, mercury, bridal satin or whatever. But I like to use taffeta because it's very light. So for me to have a good finishing, very neat finishing, I also add the lining to cover it up. Because if you want to use bridal satin, you will not have to use lining because the material will come out too heavy. Now for the skates, I'm trying to minus my upper bodies from the length of my gown. If you're like me who has to do the calculation all the time. So that is what I'm trying to do. I don't know much about calculation, so I have to always, don't judge me. So now I've determined the length. I'm taking my hip line there. I'm starting this from the waistline down. I went down by 9 inch for my hip line, and my knee line is at 22 inches. And then that is my length. Don't worry, I'll still show you. My camera is limiting me. Now I'm joining my lines. That is my knee line. And here is my hip line and my waistline. So this is it, waistline, hip line, knee line and length. Now I'm taking my waist measurement divided into 4 plus my sewing allowance. I'm not adding that to this, but you can add that to yours if you want. Now it's my hip line divided into 4 plus my sewing allowance. And whatever I have here at my knee hip line, I'm going to take away 1.5 inches from it and then place the remaining one at my waist, sorry, at my knee line. Assuming I have 10 here, I'll take away 1.5, remaining 8.5. That will be what I'll place at my knee line. Then I'll take the same measurement at the length of my gown. So whatever I have at my knee line, I'll place it at the end of my gown. I don't want it to be too tapered, so the person can still walk freely. So that's why I'm placing that. But if you want it to, give you that tight pencil shape, you can reduce it. So now I'm connecting my waistline to my hip line and my hip line to my knee line. You have to do this very carefully so you don't end up with a very pointy hip line. So then I'll use my straight ruler to take it down to the end of my gown. So now I'm just placing a notch at that is my nipple to nipple line. I took it here again because that is where my slit will fall. I just placed the notch there and I'm cutting off my pattern. So this is it. The slit will be at the front. So I'm now determining where this is going to be facing me, as we always know. So I'm now determining where the left and the right side falls to. So when it faces me, I'm going to mark my left at the left side and here at my right side. I'll just place a mark there just to be sure so I don't make mistakes. So that is where my slate is going to fall. Now I'm from the center front. I'm going to take the half of my nipple to nipple measurement and I'm placing it there all the way down and I'll connect the line. It is going to be a guide. I want it to fall exactly at the center of my knee. So now moving to the back pattern, all you have to do is just to add your zip allowance. I'm not adding that. You can add back that. It's all your choice. But at the hip line, you add 1.5. So because of your bum area. And that is just pretty it and you cut your pattern. Now I'm cutting my pattern. I just added 1.5 at the hip area, then 1 inch at the waist area, and 1 inch all the way down. Just as simple as that. Then you cut your pattern. Well, this 1 inch is subject to change. It depends on what is comfortable for you. You can use 2 inches for your zip allowance. But whatever you're using, just add half at the hip area for your bum so that your bum will balance very well. I'm trying to make this not to be so pointy. As you can see from the other side, this is my center back. That's a hip area is a bit pointy. So that is for my bum. Now I'm going to cut this with my taffeta. I'm going to cut the same thing for my taffeta. This is my back pattern. I'm cutting it on my taffeta. Excuse me. I'm cutting it on my taffeta. Now I'll also cut my main fabric, which is the lace material I'm working with. It was a struggle determining how, because this lace material is just by 30 inches. It was really a struggle for me, if you understand what I mean. So I had to join and join and join and join. Man, it was not easy, but then so for the taffeta, I'm now gluing this to my taffeta. That is, I'm using a fabric glue to glue the main material to my taffeta. But you can sew it. But when you sew it, it gets to drop. But for it to hold onto the taffeta very well, so that it can be like one material, just use a fabric glue and glue it to it. But you just have to be careful so you don't mess it up, because this glue can be really, really visible sometimes, depending on the material. So when you want to apply your glue, just apply it at the scallop area. That is the places that has designs. Don't apply it to the places that is open. I hope that makes sense. Just like I'm doing, I'm just applying it to those places that are very, very covered. So the glue will not be visible. You understand? Then after that, don't use your hand to dab it, because if you use your hand to dab it, the glue will now stain your hand, and when it stains your hand, it stains your fabric. So just find a pieces of fabric and just use it to dab on it. It is always better and advisable that way. So that is what I'm doing. I just cut out pieces of fabric and I'm using it to dab it, just as you can see. Now I'm going to glue the rest of the fabric. Just place the gum, the glue, yes, at the place that is covered. As you can see, I'm doing just like that. Then you dab it. It will, and then just keep it in a place to dry while you continue working on the other pattern that you already cut out. So this is my back pattern. I'm repeating the same thing. Man, this takes longer than it looks. Because you always want to be very careful with the glue. Honestly, it takes longer than it looks. But then, what can we do? Now I'm cutting off, I'm taking away 2 inches from my skirt. That is for the skirt slope. Now I'm applying my glue. All the way. This is my back pattern. You have to be very careful with your back pattern. It's better you level it so you don't end up facing it the wrong way. That is making it front and front or back and back instead of, front and back. So I'm doing the same thing here. Actually, I'm not gumming this all the way down for the skirt pattern. I just left about 1.5 inch on gum. So now I'm going to take this and join it just like that. I'm going to do the same for my back pattern. I'll just join it like that. And here is my lining for the front pattern. I'm going to join it. I'll join it and I'll show you. Now I've joined my front pattern, and I've also open pressed my seam allowances. As you can see, I did not pad this at all. Just follow the steps I took, and your bust area will just come out as fine as this. Your bust will just stand as beautiful as this one. So I'm trying to, line this very well so I can trim off the material, the main fabric with the lining. So I'm just trying to assemble it very well. Or you can just sew it, then you cut it off, but I always want to be a professional. So now I'm going to assemble it very, very well, and I'll trim off the excesses. But you can still do this before cutting your fabric or whatever. But I just feel comfortable like this doing it. Now I'm going to place it front side to front side. While cutting it, I placed it back side to back side. Now front side to front side, and I'll go and join it. The same thing for my back. I'll trim the back and join it. So to trim the back, I'm going to turn it wrong side to wrong side, as you can see me doing. Then after trimming it, I'll now turn it right side to right side, and then I'll go and join it. As you can see, I've placed it right side to right side. I'm going to go join it. So I'm going to join it all the way. It's only my armhole that will be open and the shoulder. Now, as you can see, it came out so beautiful. The back pattern, the front pattern, everything. I did not pad this at all, but it's standing so firmly. So I just cut out this applique, just to add some more details to the outfit. You know, when you're a tailor, you have to be innovative and creative. It's always a plus, but you have to be careful because some clients, they don't really like all that too much detailing. So you have to know what your clients like. Yeah, so coming back to my skirt, that is my down pattern. I've placed a mark where I want my slit to end, and that is it there. That is 2 inches away from my knee line. So I did not cut it open. I just put a slit there to the place I marked. Now I will just join it by the side, and then at the place I made this opening. So here it is. I joined the side and the place I say here there, and also the side. I did not I did not join the down pattern because I want the scallop to be falling off like that. So later I will join the down. I will hem the down pattern later separately. As you can see, so this is how I'm going to hem the down pattern. That is, I folded the lining into the taffeta, then I'll match it down. So I also join my back pattern, and I'll also fold it down like that, hem the bottom like that, so that scalloped area will just be falling off like that. So now I've ironed it, and it came out so beautiful. As you can see, it's so nice. Everything sitting so perfectly. So as you can see now, I'm joining the upper bodice to the down bodice, and everything matches together. You have to be, you have to calculate your allowances very well so that everything will match together. Both the front and back, the up and the down, everything will match. It's always a plus for you. So I will just trim off the excesses there and join it. So now I've joined the upper bodice to my down pattern, and it is looking so beautiful, as you can see. So I'll open press my seam like that, and I'll now join it with the back pattern. I'll press it, give it a very good press, very good press. So here is my back pattern. Everything is sitting so fine and beautiful. Everything matches the waistline, the neckline, everything is just beautiful. The length everywhere, it matches so fine. I'm just so happy with the outcome. So now remember I took 1 inch from my zip allowance. I'm going to place this front side to front side, then I'll mark out my 1 inch. Remember to join your waistline, make sure they match together. Then I'll stop somewhere at the hip line, maybe take about 8 or 9 inches from my waistline. Then I'll stop there for my zip. Then I'll join the rest. So now I've finished attaching my zip and it's looking more beautiful. So now I'm joining the front to the back. So I'll take the body measurements. Everything is just so perfect. The length, the joining, everything matches so well. So now I've finished joining it and this is the outcome. So now I'll work on the shoulder. You flip it front to front and you join it by 1/2 inch. Just there. And I'll also cut the sleeve. It's just one sleeve. I'll cut the sleeve and I'll join it there too. So here is the back. Everything is just perfect. As you can see, that place is just falling off like that. So now I'm cutting the sleeve. I marked out the length of my sleeve and I'll just come down 4 inches from the length of my sleeve. From there, I'll take the circumference of my sleeve divided into two, and then the circumference of my cuff divided into two plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. I also added 1 inch to the length for joining to the sleeve. I won't be touching the hem of this because I just want the scallop to just fall out like that. Now I am cutting my sleeve. I'm trimming on the front side. Then I'll place a notch at the center. I will use the 1 inch extra that I left to join it, and then I'll attach it to my sleeve. So here is the finished look. A round of applause, guys. So I just applied some little detailings. I use this trimming for the slit area and at the waist, just for little details. I do not want to attach so much to this because the material is a bit busy, so just little detail, and it's just a reception gown, so you just need to be careful so you don't over detail it. So guys, this is the end of the tutorial. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. See you on my next video.